Okay, welcome everybody. So our agenda today, we're going to do some quick introductions. Then we're going to give you all an overview of what the series will hold this month. Then we're just going to have a conversation among colleagues working together to deliver hopefully some compelling content for Black History Month 2021 February. And then we're going to invite you all to join in on the conversation. The conversation, by the way, will be guided by a set of topics that revolve around not just Black history, but more so the work of all of our groups and organizations. Um, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So this whole series, just like this event, has been done in partnership with so many organizations, so many professionals working together to deliver something that we hope will grow community, create a space for folks to share their stories and showcase expertise, all sort of focused and centering on the African diaspora. So you've got organizations like North Star, Black Girls Map, African Women in GIS, and a couple of organizations from Here Technology, including Unity and Power. But we're not alone, this month, organizations that are focused on the Black diaspora in our sort of day-to-day grassroots effort. We're supported by our colleagues across a number of other organizations like Vamos from Here Technologies, Claro, LGBTQIA+, Asian Daisy and Pacific Islanders, and other organizations like the College of Staten Island, as a part of the City University of New York universities. And we're all coming together around an interconnected set of purposes. Most of our organizations are focused on increasing equity and belonging in GIS and geography and related spaces, promoting diversity, inclusion, and workplace equity in the fields of related to the geosciences. Most of our organizations are all trying to have some sort of social impact, providing interventions and tools and messaging to support marginalized communities. And we're all coming together this Black History Month to deliver an interesting series focused on this year's theme for Black History Month, the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity. And the way we see that intersecting with GIS, geography, the geosciences, is the question of who maps the Black family. And around that idea, we're going to share content that will speak to the collective heritage and impact of the broad range of cultures that come together to form the African diaspora. We're going to share, as we do as technologists and GIS professionals, examples of innovative way to tackle challenges and leverage the full advantages of geography and GIS. And we're going to, as always, around Black History Month, have an eye towards the future and our ever-growing and evolving efforts to pursue progress in society, economies, and health. So there are a number of sessions related to the event. If you are at Esri, you may have just seen an announcement of some shared experiences that we're inviting everyone to participate in, and we're going to share for those outside of Esri. We're going to share more information about what that looks like shortly after the event. But in case you were wondering, you were here at the keynote, the plenary where we sort of set the stage for the rest of the event. And we're going to give you a quick overview of the other events in the series. So I'll get started with racial equity for resilient and prosperous families. This event is actually hosted by the College of Staten Island, and Raina, Kamal, and myself will give a presentation talking about racial equity and social justice best practices and how those intersect with geography and GIS, with an explicit focus on how inequities and the efforts towards racial justice impact Black families and their ongoing efforts to prosper. Who can speak to? Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over introductions, didn't I? So I'm Clinton. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the founder and leader of North Star. Rachel, do you want to help us with the rest of introductions?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Rachel Moreau. I'm at Esri. I'm on the leadership team for North Star, and I'll be moderating this event today. And um, my pronouns are she, her, hers. And TJ, could you tell us about uh, the events well, I think that you're going to be moderating or hosting this week,
Sure,
this month?
sure. Can everyone hear me okay? Hi, I'm Tyan Crump Talley. I also go by TJ and pronouns she, her, hers. I am a worker. I currently work for Here Technologies, and I am one of the co-founders and leaders of Unity and Power, which is Here's own employee resource group, founded for and by African American descent. Happy to be here. And what we, as Here Technologies, will be sharing is our Learn and Share Innovative Mind. I can circle back around to that after introductions, but I'm happy to be here with everyone today.
Thanks so much, TJ. Angel, could you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. This is Angel Nieves. I am a co-lead and co-founder of Vamos Resource Group. It's a Latinx resource group at Here Technologies. We founded it in 2019. And ever since then, we just had a really strong, really great partnership with Uni and Power, brothers and sisters there, and then also with the folks at Esri, with Glado and North Star. We're happy to share the stage, but then also just share the space with our colleagues here. And yeah, we're going to be having a really good conversation coming up really soon about Afro Latinx, past, present, and future. So be sure to look out for that.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Angel. And Dorothea, you're also from here, right?
I am. Hopefully you all can hear me. Yes. Okay. I am from
Yes.
Here Technologies. Yes, I'm one of the founding members of Unity and Power and Leader. I am excited about this collaboration. We joined forces with Esri North Star back for the Esri UC, and we're here again to collaborate and share our stories and share information. So I'm interested in all of the topics, but I am contributing in the reflecting on our history and our futures. So that's a reflection piece. I'm very excited about it. And also the Learn and Share Innovative Mind, where we'll bring in our inventors and our super inventors from Here Technologies. So looking forward to that as well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, welcome. It's super exciting. So we've got a few people also from Esri. Dynasty, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Dynasty Machado. I am a part of North Star and also an art community volunteer. I'm really excited to be a part of the Black History Month event, and I am specifically assisting a little bit more with the Afro Latinx then and now looking at the past and present. So looking forward to seeing more people in our future events that we'll have throughout the month.
Great. Thanks so much. Maria, tell us about what you've got going on this month.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria Patino. I work at Esri and I am the founder and leader of Claro, an employee resource group focused on Latinx employees. And for this month, we are collaborating with a couple of groups, Unity and Power, Vamos, North Star, to bring you, like my colleagues have already said, Afro Latinx then and now. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Thanks so much. Up next, we have Raina Kamal.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of Raina. It's Whitney.
Hi, Whitney.
Hey, how's it going? So I'll be speaking on behalf of Black Girls Map. So Raina and I, who have co-founded Black Girls Map, which is really an organization to empower and to bring forward the work of Black women and also really look at large social issues that are impacting untapped communities through, using GIS as the technology that does that. So we're really excited to be here for the panel, to be able to support this event. And we're excited about the work that we'll be doing this year. A lot of it really focusing on Black women and Black families. So excited to be a part of this. Thank you.
Oh, welcome. And yes, Black Girls Map is another one of the wonderful groups here at Esri. Oh, who else is next? We've got, is it Sienna Williams?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Sienna.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Sihana Lina Williams. I'm one of the
Sihana.
co-founders of African Women in GIS. That is an organization that is centered around African women all over the world who are in the geospatial industry. So today we are here to join you guys and talk about our story. We are on the Friday 19th, and we'll be talking more about our journey into GIS as a career, the African story. So I'm here with my co-founder, Chidima Umegu. I think she would introduce herself next.
Wonderful. Welcome, Chidima.
Hi everyone, my name is Chidima Umogu, and it's nice to be here with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chidima. And up next, we have from the College of Staten Island, Nora Santiago.
Hey everyone.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having us here. My name is Nora Santiago. I'm an urban policy analyst, GIS specialist at the College of Staten Island. And we are very happy to be part of this event, and we can't wait for Wednesday when we have the racial equity for resilient and prosperous families. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nora. Chloe, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe Tereslina. I'm one of the co-founders of the Asian, Desi, and Pacific Islander Employee Resource Group at Esri. My pronouns are she, her, and we will be one of the groups supporting reflecting on our history and our futures. So that's going to be an event that discusses kind of shared history between different communities. I think from the jump, a lot of people don't know that other communities have benefited a lot from work that's been done by people in the African diaspora. So we're going to be talking on that a bit there. So I definitely recommend attending that if you can. And yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chloe. And up next, I see Jennifer I'm sorry, it's cut off a little bit. Velasquez or Velasco?
Hi.
Velasco, okay. Sorry, it's cut off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Velasco. I'm from Esri, and my pronouns are she, her, ella. I am part of GLADO's leadership, and I'll be supporting the Afro-Latinx event on Monday, February 8th, and I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to hearing everyone's. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. It's really exciting to see how much participation we have this month. Sarah Scher.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sarah. My pronouns are she, her. I work at Esri and I co-lead the LGBTQIA employee resource group here. And I'll be, and I'm collaborating with many others on the Reflecting on Our History and Our Future session. So looking forward to the whole series.
Wonderful. And last but not least, we have Jasmine. You there, Jasmine?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Jasmine Cardona. My pronouns are she and her, and so proud to represent College of Staten Island and the City University of New York here today. I'm here with my colleague, Nora, who you met earlier, and as she mentioned, we'll be supporting the event on Wednesday, the 3rd, a discussion around racial equity for resilient and prosperous families. And so happy to be here today with all of you and looking forward to seeing all of you on Wednesday.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the panelists for introducing yourselves. And for sure, anyone that has any questions, please put them in the question and answer section. We have one question already, and we'll get to those a little later in the session. But if you have any questions about the sessions themselves, please feel free to ask and put anything in the chat as well. We'll be monitoring. So let's see.
Cool. Thanks, Raisha. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to get a glimpse into, you know, how many people were involved in bringing this to all of you, to get a sense for how, you know, how broad and not just national but international this conversation is. And we're just so excited to have such a strong set of collaborators working across so many different spaces, all sort of focus around some of the same concepts.
Absolutely. So, Clinton, you'll be sharing the upcoming topics for today's session.
I sure will, Raisha. So we wanted to organize our conversation around some pretty solid themes. There's so many of us, this could go on. So one topic area being navigating through uncertainty, thinking about our organizations, whether they be employee resource groups or professionals organizations or you know, educational institutions or communication platforms, working to increase and promote diversity and inclusion. We also want to talk about cultivating inclusive climates and cultures, and how we all work to fulfill our brand's values and the role of leadership in that work, and how we're having a business impact. And we want to think about how we can assess and sustain that impact, and think about ways we can you know, begin to measure our efficiency and sustain that progress, and really look at what it means to do anti-racism and equity work in action. And finally, we want to reflect on how we can inspire the future, thinking about ways we can provide pathways for folks to learn about GIS and get into this space and find mentorship, and encouraging, you know, everyone, particularly people from underrepresented groups. And in this month, we want to focus on people from the African diaspora getting a seat at the table, which is sort of the underlying premise of who maps the Black family. So this the slides are going to in some way run themselves and keep us moving forward. So as a topic emerges, questions will pop up, and we'll start to engage with them. And from now on, it's hands off with the slides, and every 60 seconds or so, the conversation will just move forward. And Bracia will graciously wrangle us all and keep us all, you know, on task.
Yes, I'll try. I know it can get pretty deep and interesting, so I'll be staying focused. But we got our first question here. In terms and like perspective of the groups that you are participating in, leading, what are you allowed to do in your groups, in your roles, versus what you're empowered to do? Whitney, I'd love to hear your perspective on your experience with Black Girls Map, and yeah, what you've been allowed to do versus empowering your next moves in each events that you hold and ideas that you have. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, guys.
It's an intense one to toss your way right off the bat there.
Right. I know. I was like, I know I'm not the first one.
This is
I know, yeah, I was thinking that
like,
too, but
I have, you know, I had it all figured out.
I have all faith.
I was like, I'm gonna listen to all 10 people go through, and then I'll just chime in.
On alphabetical order at the end.
You know, I'm W and I got Kaluski. Like I thought I was gonna be okay.
Right.
All right. Well, I would say this. So Black Girls Map in general, I think a lot of what we've done is because we've been empowered to do it. I would say most of what we've done wasn't necessarily with the labeling of being allowed. So I think this question in general, like when we feel empowered to do something, Rain and I really literally are like, let's just do it. Let's just make impact and get slapped later, you know, on our hands if it's something that isn't allowed. I think what we found though is that in everything, it has to be community and people first. It has to be, we have to know that we're centered in that we're doing something beyond ourselves. And I think the allowance thing comes, you know, behind the question of, okay, what is it that we're trying to do? You know, we tried to do this thing with people for the people. For people who don't know about that, it was an initiative that was all geared towards getting people to understand things that were happening politically in our nation, as well as getting them to vote, and just trying to have people engage with politics, because we ourselves weren't engaged with politics prior to the recognition of the fact that we were like, okay, we need to do more. And so, you know, our biggest thing was around just saying, hey, how do we empower communities? And we knew that some of the conversations that we were going to talk about, things that we were going to talk about, were going to be uncomfortable. Were going to be things that people didn't want to talk about. And then also just trying to even get our own organization, Esri, to slap their name on that too, with some of these uncomfortable conversations, was also going to be this thing of uncertainty. But in the end, I think it was something that all of us, our entire organization at Esri, our initiative, Black Girls Map, everyone could be really proud of the work that we were able to do, because it was led with people first. You know, it toned down the conversations between Republican and Democrat leaning content, or, you know, whether or not people want to support LGBTQIA communities. If there was too much racial, you know, conversations around criminal justice, that, you know, all those things that people probably could have attacked about the way in which we did it. It was people first. And when you start looking at communities that are of interest because of the fact that they are lacking resources, or that they don't have a voice, and we're elevating those voices, you really can't have too much of an argument. And so that's why I say, like, this, for us, our path of uncertainty has always been led with our hearts, and with the notion of understanding that if we are empowering and uplifting people and bringing people together, we can't go wrong, we cannot fail. And in most cases, it's always going to be allowed, even if people might have little things to say, or, you know, there might be a little bit more barriers than other times. We definitely can put our best foot forward, knowing that in the end, it's going to work together for good. So that's what I would say to this discussion.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that having that in common of the community first is really a big part of what seems to drive all of you and these groups to be successful in the way that you have been. And, you know, being able to come together just for an event like this is key to the success and overcoming those challenges of kind of that pushback when the difficult conversations come up. Community first. So let's see, we have our, thank you for that, by the way. To keep things moving, we have another question. Do we as leaders and staff have a general understanding of the difference between organizational power dynamics and social power dynamics? I don't know if you want to put that up on the screen. Oh, we're on the next. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I'm looking.
It was good to go back to that question.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to just think about just the different dynamics that we have here. Okay, so, all right. What metrics or assessment tools do we use to determine the efficacy of this program? Anybody want to chime in, or I will call on someone? How are you measuring the efficacy of this?
I think a lot of our groups use surveys. After every one of our events, we throw out a survey. We're not always great about sharing the feedback that we gain from the surveys, but we do sort of, we're motivated by them for sure. So we're looking at, you know, whether or not we want to know whether or not we are encouraging people to engage in conversations that they might not otherwise engage in. And all things revolving around race, which is at the center of our organization, tend to be those kinds of things that people don't like to speak to.
All right. Have you ever come across any other methods besides surveys and in-person interviews, or even side conversations that maybe you've come across someone in person when that was appropriate and allowed to do?
One of the things that we will be tracking is now, since for the past couple of years, we've been providing some input into some organizations' events, and we'll be looking this year to see whether or not we've had an impact, right? So we assessed the representation of some previous events. We'll assess representation going forward, and we'll hopefully make a dent, and we'll be able to see, you know, which of our efforts had an impact and which didn't.
That's awesome. That's it's a key tool to be able to use. Now, if we manage to develop and drive an inclusive culture, how do we now hire with an eye to sustain it? Anyone be able to speak on hiring practices once we've been able to impart some of this knowledge through different events and discussions? You might be able to.
Anybody from here?
I can take that one. Hi, it's Dorothea. Can you all hear me? I can take that one.
Yes, we can.
So
hear you.
we are definitely focusing on, diverse candidate slates, and we are working with our talent acquisition teams to bridge that gap and create relationships with historical Black colleges and universities. We are planning this month to have an event where we just bring in career services professionals from HBCUs and our talent acquisition team to have a conversation, a learn and share, to understand what candidates' needs are and how we can help to, get diverse talent in the building in our organization. So that's one way that we're definitely trying to, diversify talent and keep those conversations and relationships going.
And a follow-up question to that, how does the onboarding process and personnel development strategy work in tandem to position new hires to be successful while also driving the culture we have so painstakingly built?
I would love to hear what you all are doing at here. One thing we're trying to do at Esri is to get in sync with onboarding practices so that folks get connected with ERGs from day one, so they can get sort of fast tracked into the culture.
Yep, we are doing the same, Clinton, and we know that ERGs are being promoted as, a part of the culture, a key driver of the culture at here. So we want onboarding process to actually include ERGs and connecting people with those leaders and those groups. So we are following that same path as well at here.
And let me just chime in on there,
Sure.
Dorothea, too. So along with that, we're looking to bring on, I think we've added it on there too, where we have a piece on inclusion and diversity on our website near like the careers portion of our site. But then we're also on social media. We've been promoting this Life at Here series, which it's an external, medium where we could, highlight some of the diverse talent that we have at here, whether it's in gender or race. And really highlight what we're trying to do and also plug in what we're doing with our employee resource group. So that's been a new initiative that we started, I think, last year as well.
I would like to chime
I
in.
would just say,
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Hi.
Okay.
So Esri, actually I participated last week on a career fair for FAMU. It's for the most part, it's a Black university or Black intended university. And it's the first time. We're also trying to reach out to HBCUs and all those colleges to bring in also diversity.
I love it. That's the key. These aren't just social groups, ERG employee resource groups. They're not just for fun and just to collaborate with coworkers, but it's about outreach and really working with the community and engaging your social circle through social media and, definitely letting potential candidates know how they can benefit within their own culture when they apply to certain organizations, and we're one of them. Inspiring the future, moving on, learning about GIS, seeking mentorship, and getting a seat at the table. Clinton, could you elaborate on that? That's coming up, but what does that mean?
So this part of the conversation. I mean, we can also touch on a question that we might have left behind, but this part of the conversation is really inspired by questions among this group about, well, how do we introduce the next generation of students and those who could be GIS scholars, entrepreneurs, and professionals to GIS and geography and the geosciences?
That is great. Yeah, and that leads us into a question that we received. Do you want to talk with, take that question now? Is that okay?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so let's see who it came from. Latoya Gray Sparks asked if there are any organizations or group formed to directly support those of us who are currently mapping Black communities in history. She's doing this type of work in Richmond, Virginia, and sometimes feels like she's working in a silo and is often the only person of color in meetings and conversations about mapping Black geography. It would be nice to join a network of like-minded people if one exists. Yes, it does. And I can definitely say that Black Girls Map is doing great work with mapping different Black stories, northstar.org. Visit these websites and to see what work is being done, because yes, they are, and we could definitely use anyone who's interested in working on those types of projects.
And there's a group out of the AAG called Black Geographers, I think, that are also focusing on that space. There's a couple of groups out of AAG focused on the intersection of culture and geography.
We can also, I'm going to jump in, Latoya, we came across, there's a group out of Virginia actually that are mapping like genealogy, and they've done like a very extensive thing. They're working with like a library or out of like one of the state libraries or something like that. So they have funding as well. And I think it's a pretty organized group. So I definitely think they could at least point you to specifically, maybe there's some overlap of work, that you could jump in, or maybe there's some things that they can point you to. So Raina or I know Raina's on the call at least listening in. We can if you want to shoot us an email, or if you want us to get in touch with you, we can try to get you the point of contact. I know one of the women's name is Robin. I just have to remember her last name. So after this, we can sync back up and I can get you that information. But they're working out of Virginia, and they're doing a lot of work on Black communities and Black history, looking at archived data. They've been pulling in all kind of stuff. They have researchers and all kind of folks like helping tell like this story of the Black community in Virginia. So definitely would be something you would want to maybe sync together on.
And there's the Mellon Foundation. I'm sure I'm getting the name not quite right. They also fund a lot of work around, I think it's digital archives and preserving archives, and digital is one interesting way to preserve archives. So there might be some additional funding sources and partnership that you can find in that space. And I would be excited to engage in anything that's related to that. That's one of the sort of background passion projects of North Star, is to try to connect the network of folks who are doing that kind of research, because in fact, it informs action on the ground of folks who are addressing racial and social inequality all around the country and all around the world. The story begins with how did we get here, and so having that historical context is always valuable.
Thank you both. Thank you, Quentin. Let's see. Now we have a couple questions that have popped up. We have, what would you suggest to students today who are interested in GIS? Chidima, I see that your hand's up. How could you speak to our students today who are interested in GIS?
Okay, coming from the academia, I'm in the university. I lecture at Nambasco University, Oka in Nigeria. So we have a lot of students who wants to venture into GIS, and they kind of find it so foreign. Like these are also alien. Like, how am I going to survive? What is job prospect when I'm done with schools? So I encourage them to go into programming, which is a basic thing now, machine learning algorithm and stuff like that. So I basically tell my students to find a niche in GIS. GIS is very broad. So when you find a niche, you can be able to stand out, and that makes it to be employable. Because over here in Nigeria, in Africa, GIS is still an emerging innovation. It's an emerging technology. It has not yet circulated everywhere, and they have a lot of opportunities to grow. They have a lot to offer to the society. So I encourage them to do what they have in mind, to not be scared about being the only one doing the job, not to be scared about being the only one in the industry offering GIS or doing something on GIS. So that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chidima. Yeah, don't be afraid to be a trailblazer in this industry. More often than not, you'll find people that are interested and are even willing just to help you along your journey if you're willing to take that first step. Anyone else have anything that they'd like to add to
Anybody from
that?
PSI?
So yeah.
I'll jump in. I would say, and this is something Rain and I have come across when we're speaking with a lot of like college students and young people, is to note to be able to tell the story. Get, find something passionate that is impacting once again your community. It might be personally, and then be able to just tell that story. We always try to point people to the technology of story maps, obviously, to start that initiation of that, to get them introduced to GIS. And then from there, it comes down to you just basically leveraging the things that you have uniquely about you. I say that because even for myself, and even Raina, like our paths to getting to GIS weren't that we started with GIS. We were doing completely different things. Me specifically, not even in the world at all of GIS, but somehow I'm working at a GIS company for 6+ years. We're leaders of Black Girls Map and People for the People, shepherding new technology that's being built at Esri. And all of it came from us leaning on those things that make us who we are, and also focusing on the things that we care most about, and being able to tell that story. And so once you find that thing that makes you passionate, that you're willing to go share about, I think that also can help bring that connection of the to get over the complexity of GIS, right? Because some people can get a little bit overwhelmed by all the things that you need to learn to be able to map and to be able to analyze data. But a lot of it can be brought to its basic principle of what are you trying to share to other people? What is the thing that you're trying to share and tell and educate people on?
Absolutely. Jasmine and or Nora from College of Staten Island. What do you have to add to that about engaging and encouraging our students?
Well, I just want to jump in quickly and say, Latoya's earlier question is really resonating with me, right? I think thinking about an individual who's in this work already and is trying to connect, right? Identifying as the only individual person of color who's engaging in this work, right? And how difficult it has been for her, right? And so thinking of a student who has less networks and maybe less knowledge about this career path, and how do I connect and how do I engage? And so, it's a very profound sort of situation to find yourselves in, right? When you're trying to engage within a specific community and you don't know where to find this community. I would encourage students to find your local assets, right? Look locally what your assets are, who are the individuals that you can tap into. There were a number of organizations that were listed here. Follow individuals that you admire, that you respect, that are doing this work. Reach out to them, follow them in social media, but I would say connect. I would encourage you, just like it was stated earlier, do not be afraid, do not be intimidated, do not be timid, be bold. And reach out and connect to individuals. There are plenty of opportunities for you to build your network and for you to increase your knowledge and to learn how your pathway is going to look in terms of your professional journey. So again, I think the main thing is you have to build your network, you have to build relationships. There are plenty of individuals that will be more than happy to connect you to information. And some of that is going to be a little bit of fact finding on your own as well. But the information is out there, and I encourage people to be bold.
Later on this year, we're gonna. I want to get to Nora, but while I'm thinking about later on this year, we're gonna pretty soon in this quarter, we're gonna announce the North Star Bridge, which is our effort to sort of bring together. What is foundational to North Star is the idea that we need to be a network of networks, and no one of our organizations should be out here trying to do this on our own, but we should do it collectively. It's why it was so important to bridge all these gaps. And we want folks like Latoya to feel like when you're a part of any of the organizations in this network, you're a part of this whole network. So sometimes we talk about the North Star Network, or we'll talk about if you understand like the connections to the Underground Railroad with North Star, we view our collective as the overground railroad to success for Black folks in GIS. And the bridge is, you know, so there's this idea of like giving somebody a scholarship and say, off you go, and hope you have success in GIS, that I think doesn't work. It's like tossing somebody into a space that wasn't designed to nurture them, that is sort of enclosed within a space, speaking in terms of society, that was designed perhaps to harm them. And we want to be a foundation and a platform to connect people to resources and to peers and to mentors throughout their career, scholastic and entrepreneurial journeys. So we'll announce what that looks like a little bit later on. But anyway, Nora, you had your hand raised as well.
Yes, as you said, the students need a lot of encouragement. When I was teaching GIS, I always encourage students to, when they worked on their final project, to pick a topic that you see in your neighborhood that needs to get fixed, that you think you can do something. At first, they were so intimidated with the technology, but once they figured out the way to use it and mastered it, they were so happy that they can do something for everyday people who live in their community. And it's so important that they know that their voices can be heard, and they can be a valuable asset to the community.
Well, thank you so much for your input. Chloe, also, just a reminder to take a look into the chats. Useful information is being shared there. Chloe suggests getting to know your community better and being in touch and tapping into into your community and your surrounding communities, so that you know what needs are there and how to address them, and finding, I guess, the innovative ways to address the needs of your community, and also connecting and partnering with people that are doing the work. So let's see. Also, Leslie from North Star. Leslie found and shared some information for the North Star Atlas, since allowing you to connect with other people on LinkedIn. And Leslie Wilson from Esri in the Career Center. She has a link there too. So just be sure to check out the chat room. So do we have any other questions? Let's see. From an anonymous poster, one of the problems that I see with enterprises is that they make these big claims about inclusion and diversity, yet there are very few minorities, Black and brown, in executive positions. How are you having these difficult conversations with stakeholders? We hear about that a lot. Anybody? I'm not seeing the hands, I'm sorry, but please feel free to chime in on that question. They talk about it, but they're not really about it when it comes to hiring leadership positions. How do you have those tough conversations and address those issues that are right in, clearly in everyone's face, where you can see the disparities?
Well, I'm not sure that folks on the Esri side can really speak to solving the problem, but around the question of how do you have those difficult conversations, you definitely have them. You name it, you call it out, because otherwise people, as shocking as it may seem, people don't see when everybody in the room with them all day long is another white guy. People don't see when their entire team, across their entire team, there are no people of color. People don't see it. So you have to raise awareness of it. You have to point out the issues, and we also need to connect it to what is being missed, what we're losing in terms of opportunity to innovate, to tap into different perspectives, and right now we're in a moment when all organizations, including Esri and AAG and Eurissa, are all trying to actively respond to this to this demand for racial justice. So how do you pursue solutions and explore problem sets and unravel those problems and get to the root cause when you don't have a lived experience that connects you to those issues, when you aren't connected to communities that are connected to those issues, when the distance between you and those issues is so vast. How do you understand those issues innately enough to tackle them in the right way without increasing representation at the table? And I think once we start to see in fact, I say it all the time, the reason why we were as well positioned as we were as an organization to step into this work is because North Star and Black Girls Map were focused on equity and social justice and providing interventions and understanding the needs in this space, and encouraging our organizations to work on that. When I think about other companies I won't name because we're recorded and live, where the ERGs themselves create new business solutions that drive revenues. The origin stories of ERGs themselves, you can look to IBM. Like from the beginning of this work, people have realized that there is business opportunity in having a broader set of perspectives at the table, and you miss something when you don't have that. So I talked too much about that.
Yeah, one thing I would like to add, as far as my experience in here, we have, executive leaders that really focus on mentoring and coaching, and we focus a lot on allyship, career sponsorship, and I think that really helps with, people in certain positions and raising people up in the organization, especially those of African descent. Also, just really focusing on the numbers. Sometimes it's difficult to even get access to that data to know where you are, as far as, Black and what level of, is it entry level, is it middle management, is it senior leadership? So sometimes getting that data can be a challenge as well. But when you focus on, let's look at recruiting, let's look at talent acquisition and those processes around there, and then removing bias in hiring and decision making. All of those play critical roles in, getting talent in the door and actually promoting and all of those that comes around with that. And we do have our executive sponsor on the line, Luther Siebert. He's actually VP of Quality. Luther, are you on? Would you like to chime in here? Maybe he's not.
He is there, but
we'll come back. But yeah, so
but I did want to piggyback after you, Dorothea, once you're finished. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
Yeah, I just wanted to really echo Dorothea's sentiments. With Here Technology, I can only speak for myself. I was in a particular pyramid, I guess, if you want to say, on that professional totem pole. Most of the people that I had knew at the time that were Blacks were not in my department at all, nor were they in any particular leadership roles. So I really had to come out of my shell and just literally almost go up to people and go, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? And to my surprise, they were just as passionate as I was, if not more, and were willing to open that door for me. And these were co-workers who have been at Here for years. Dorothea is one of them. I had been there, thought I knew everyone, didn't know anyone, and had to really open my mouth and get that conversation started. Just as you mentioned earlier, Clinton, and I didn't realize that the conversation was already there. It was up to me to push it a little bit further. So it was kind of both, different ends of the spectrum. And as far as our executive sponsor, who is our current executive sponsor right now, Luther Siebert, what most people don't know is that before he was our executive sponsor, he was one of the people that I just went up to, didn't know who he was, didn't know what he did with the company. But I had heard so many great things, not just about him, but just about the work that Luther was surrounded by. So that meant other 6 degrees of separation and different networks, right? just within here technologies. And I had already been there for 8 years. So imagine my surprise meeting those new faces that weren't really new, seeing those new hearing of projects thinking they were new and they weren't really new, but it was more getting all of those people's love and passion that was already there. So that was just my perspective on it. And then once those were tapped in, and once those passions were just tapped into just a little bit, look where we are now. It's just blossoming and growing and growing and growing more and more and more.
Yeah. Similarly, at Esri, everybody knows Dawn, right? There are reasons why everybody knows her. She's amazing. She's also, in a lot of cases, been the only of a variety of kinds. But after a while, we did find ourselves bumping into other Black people specifically who had been at Esri for a while. But there's a reason why there's a reason that we won't be able to get into in these 5 minutes, why it's the best practice for diversity and inclusion for leaders to proactively seek out and mentor people from underrepresented groups, Black folks, Indigenous folks, Latinx folks, people from marginalized genders and sexual orientations. There's a reason why that's important. There's also a reason why there's a hesitance and then a necessity for those of us who find ourselves in the margins to have to reach out and scour the organization to find the other people who look like us, who can help open doors for us. So while we're always going to push hard, do our best, be 2 to 5 to 10 times as good as we need to be, it's also important that leaders reach out and proactively mentor to try to close the gaps. That's a part of what we call equity. We really won't have time to get into it, but we do want to invite more folks to engage in the conversation. Are there any other burning questions? While you think of some, I'll
We
remind
have
you of what's coming
one
next.
that just came in. It's just asking about education level. How important is a master's in GIS or a GIS adjacent field? How is that played into your career advancement? And yeah, what's needed to advance in a GIS career? Anyone quickly speak to that? Give a few bits of advice. Is a master's necessary if you want to be in GIS?
I'm never going to discourage
Hello,
anybody
can you hear
from
me?
seeking advanced degrees.
Yes,
They're
Chidima?
definitely
I was
useful.
going to say the same.
Yeah.
Yes. Go
However,
ahead.
also understand that with that, you still need to perform interventions and interrupt bias, and because in a lot of cases the disparities grow the higher the degree you have, right? So like Black people with bachelors are at a sort of below where their counterparts who are white with bachelors are, and it grows when you get to masters, and it grows when you get to PhDs. So there's something else that you'll also have to do to interrupt bias wherever it exists, to intervene in inequities wherever they exist.
Chidima.
Sorry, Chidra.
Yeah, sorry, my network went up. Masters in GIS is very important. Coming from my background, I learned GIS during my masters, both from the practical aspect of it, the use of software and everything about GIS from my masters. And not being in the academics, in the university now, you find out that the curriculum for masters for GIS is more advanced and is more detailed in the master's level. At the BSc, you're just taught the basic of what is GIS, the raster, the vector, and stuff like that. But when you specialize in it for your masters, you have more grounds to cover. You have more to learn there. So masters in GIS is very important, and also in terms of finding career, it places above those who just have a BSc, because with your educational background and with your experience in the work field, it's going to help you advance very well in your career and also place you above those. So I think a master's in GIS is very, very important.
Thank you. So hopefully that answered the questions. We have a final question that's looking for mentorship and connection. So I would encourage everyone to drop their ad into the chat if they feel comfortable and just begin the information sharing and sharing of your social media and ways to connect outside of this event. I want to thank all of our panelists and participants. And this is our very first keynote event for Black History Month. Welcome and enjoy all the opportunities learned. You took a first step, but we want to conclude with outreach. Think of your community, ways to connect with your community, and put yourself out there and connect with those who have similar interests and mindset of helping their community. So if that is it, I don't know, Clinton has some other things, but I'm very happy to have been a part of this. And happy Black History Month, everyone.
Happy Black History Month. Please join us for the Racial Equity for Resilient and Prosperous Families, where we look at how racial equity and social justice best practices in GIS can impact more positively Black families and others. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.